Go for it.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's Friday. It's about 2 p.m. on the Eastern Seaboard, and it is time for some Rogue Money Radio time. Back with us, we have a member, one of the original cast and crew, one of my top wingmen here, Ken the Shotgun Schortgen. He needs no introduction. You can find his work on roguemoney.net as well as his own website, The Daily Economist, as well as, if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the Daily Economist YouTube channel where Ken breaks down all the information, all the news, and he makes sense out of the crazy predicaments that we are all in today. With that being said, man, Ken, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
Yo, gentlemen. Always good to be here with the what was it, the new name you have?
Optimus Primate.
Optimus Primate. That's correct. And it's ironic that you are the last night since Transformers came out with a new movie last week.
Yeah, they did, and I'm getting tired of them. Quite honestly, I'm just I think I'm over it, dude. I really think I'm over it.
That's okay. The new Spider-Man's out.
I heard Homecoming was great.
Yep.
I definitely want to go check it out, man. And I've been wanting to see Wonder Woman. I heard Wonder Woman's phenomenal.
I've seen Wonder Woman, but I went on Wednesday to see Baby Driver.
What's Baby
That's
Driver?
A movie. Oh, you'll love Baby Driver, Mr. Carman. It's about a kid. The whole movie is built on a foundation of music.
Huh.
And all the different music is set for the different scenes. And this is a kid who, when he was younger, his parents died in a car accident.
Oh.
He got tinnitus, and so he's had to pretty much live with iPods on to drown out the humming, just listen to music all the time. Anyway, he's a super incredible driver. And one time he tried to steal a gangster's car with merchandise in it. The gangster caught him and now made him the wheelman.
Wow. I have to see this. Baby Driver. Wow.
Yep.
That is right up my alley. That's like
good things coming.
That's it, man. Ken, where do you want to begin, man? A lot of things to talk about. The meme wars, the reckoning has begun.
Yeah, our favorite Cuss with Gus yesterday pretty much laid out all the meme wars, but it has escalated now. Somebody over at Reddit has found every single one of the advertisers for CNN.
Yeah.
And has put them out and is calling for boycott.
Perfect.
Now, I don't know if you saw on Zero Hedge yesterday, Nielsen ratings came out with CNN over the past week. And the big joke is that Nick at Night, which during the normal primetime evening shows had Yogi Berra reruns, and they got more viewers than CNN did.
No, you're kidding me.
Nope, and same thing with TLC. You know, Honey Boo Boo reruns probably were showing at that time, and that came out better than CNN.
Wow, man, that's they're imploding. They're imploding. I don't know if this network's going to be around in the next few months, Ken.
Well, it's not necessarily that. Of course, we know that every major, since the Bill Clinton passed the Communications Act that allowed, 6 corporations to own 95% of all the media.
Yeah.
CNN is under Time Warner.
Right.
Well, Time Warner's in the process of a merger with AT&T. Right. What do you think AT&T is thinking right now?
They're thinking about Xnay on CNN.
Supposedly, all this media attention, or this media attention on CNN has actually risen Time Warner's stock.
Really?
Yeah. The old saying that all publicity is good publicity.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the case. So I think this boycotting the advertisers is going to be next, and I'm waiting for some of the 4chan hackers to just decide that they're going to bring CNN down completely across every cable network.
That would be beautiful.
Though you start doing that, then you're going to bring in the feds. Right now, it's more of a legal thing, but how far are they willing to go? That's going to be the question.
Yeah.
Let's see what else is going on. Oh, the bank bailouts. How the Fed can come up and say that we're not going to have another crisis in our time, and the same week where we had 2 Spanish banks and 3 Italian banks get bailed out is beyond me.
That is funny. Hey, hold on one second. Hey, CJ, W just contacted me. Could you send him a link, man, to his mobile?
Absolutely. I'll put him on.
Got it. Thanks, buddy.
Cool.
Yeah, Monte got bailed out, Ken. They are putting the Lancet. They're bleeding out this toxic bank, but I think all they're doing is plastering some more electronic duct tape on the entire problem.
Well, there's one reason they do this. Okay. One, what's the first rule of bail-ins?
Never
the first
tell
rule of
anybody
bail-ins.
you're Club bail-in.
The first rule of bail-ins is you can only do it once.
Yep.
Because once you do it, nobody will trust a bank again.
Nope.
So you have to do it during a major big crisis. Two, what's another reason why Santander, which is insolvent, was allowed to take on the depositors and liabilities of Banco Popular in Spain, and the ECB then funded and capitalized Santander. Why did they do that? Because who are the primary bondholders of the Italian, the Greek, the Spanish, the pigs banks? Germany. And who runs the EU and the ECB? Germany. That's what it is. The European Union is the Fourth Reich.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
And so,
led by a woman who looks like a football with clipped hair.
Hey, she was in East Germany, and Putin knew her back in the day before the wall fell.
Yep.
Well, that's all you got to say.
That's it.
But we got a lot of stuff, especially with Bitcoin, gold. I honestly think, we were talking just prior to coming on, these two recent flash crashes. I think one was on July 4th.
Yes, it was.
And then there was one
Amazon
last night.
flash crash. Which one was last night, man?
Oh, silver.
Oh yeah, it was beaten like a monkey's.
Silver fell, and the COMEX instantly came out and said that it was a flash crash. The algos were fighting to get down. There was no reason to do it. So what we're seeing is we're seeing probably the complete breakdown of the COMEX.
Yeah.
Two of these flash crashes, because nobody's really getting involved except the computer algos, and the computer algos are being pressured. I mean, think about it. Why in the heck, going up, the dollar's going down, should gold and silver even be whiffing in the negative, in the red?
Right.
It shouldn't. Not even close. I don't care if there is nobody buying it. Fact of the matter is that yes, there are buyers out there, but the COMEX is no longer monitoring and paying attention to what's going on in Eurasia and Asia. Mm-hmm. They're taking basic news, like with India on this new GST tax, and they're assuming, India is the biggest buyer, so we're going to go ahead and that is going to be a glut in the market. Well, fact of the matter is, something that was forecast about 4 weeks ago over on King World News with Andrew Maguire, he intimated that 26 days from a certain date, probably about where his interview was, there was going to be something major that was going to bust open the gold and silver markets completely.
Really?
Well, he sent a tweet 2 days ago saying that was delayed a short time. And it makes me wonder, as we got closer to this, is this why the algos are flash crashing gold and silver? Are they trying to front run something?
Interesting theory. Interesting.
So with that being said, and King World News put out today what specifically it is, and there's going to be an interview either tonight or tomorrow up at King World News with Andrew Maguire. You can hear about it. Go over there. But specifically, sovereigns are going to make a 250-ton purchase all at once.
200. Wow.
Do you think there's 250 tons in the West, LBMA or New York?
No way. Not even
close. And they're going to demand delivery.
Right.
And it's going to be from the sovereigns, not from some little podunk retail.
Right. Exactly.
So this is where, if this comes to fruition, it's really going to be interesting. Because I think, the fact of the matter is, and they've come out with this, the retail investor is not in the market. They're not in stocks. They can't afford real estate anymore. Consumers are broke. Those who are getting in Bitcoin, I want to set something aside for that. I'm not for or against Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. As a matter of fact, I'm in the space just like you are.
Yeah.
Only I'm doing it through my work and my articles over at Steemit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting Steam dollars, which I can trade for Dash, which I can trade for Bitcoin, Ethereum if I want. I'm not going to put cash into this thing. It's a speculative, in my opinion, it's a speculative bubble investment. And contrary to what some people say, just because the shoe shine boy doesn't talk about Bitcoin does not mean it's a bubble. A bubble means is when you have far more buyers than sellers in a given asset, and the price volatility is almost entirely overvalued.
Yeah.
That's a bubble. Because think about it, in 2007, 2008, did we have foreigners in our housing? No. So how could it be a bubble if we didn't have a worldwide thing? And today, most of the housing is being in Canada and the U.S. is being bought by foreigners rather than the U.S., and yet they still call it a bubble. So, you know, that definition about the shoe shine boy, no, that just means that you're leading to a stock market crash. That's what 1929 was.
Yeah, interesting.
But with that being said, there was an interesting article that talked about, is Bitcoin really a currency? And you know, who was it? Who was the Dow theory guy? Was it Richard Russell? I think
so. I think it was Richard Russell.
Yeah, Richard Russell. He laid out 7 different caveats needed for real money. And this is why fiat currency doesn't fit into the thing of real money. One of them means it has to be a long time accepted store of value.
Correct.
Bitcoin and the cryptocurrencies don't fit that thing.
No,
so
no.
It does act as a medium of exchange. However, the amount of different businesses in that you can use as a medium of exchange are limited. Secondly, who's buying Bitcoin? There's an article I showed that bitprivacy.net went out and on the blockchain and took a look at every single wallet that's out there, not the individuals who own the wallets, but all the wallets and how much Bitcoin is held.
Yeah, institutional investors.
99% of all Bitcoin wallets, something like 63 million.
Right, are held by large banks and institutional investors.
No. 63 million have less than 1 Bitcoin each.
Wow.
The remaining 670,000 hold all the Bitcoin. So the 1%ers hold all the Bitcoin.
Yeah.
The 99%, less than 99% of the Bitcoin. Where most of the things, 78% of all the transactions are being done in China, Japan, and South Korea.
Right.
Why? What are they using Bitcoin for? They're using it as currency arbitrage.
Sure.
Those who are buying it not for currency arbitrage are doing it on momentum plays as a security. Not because they really think it's wealth protection. Because really, how can you have wealth protection when the volatility is so great by hundreds of dollars a day? You buy a Bitcoin and you want to use it 3 hours later to buy lunch, and all of a sudden, you know, it's down 9%.
Yeah.
So I'm not for or against cryptocurrencies. I think that there are certain instances what they're coming out with, and I'll tell you about that here in a second, that are fantastic and fabulous. But the ones who are using it and claiming it's a wealth protection, a store of value, or as a currency, I can't buy that because you know what? The pure definitions and the history of its use and its consequences or results just don't sell that out. Now, which cryptocurrencies do I like?
Yeah.
How about the ones that are being used as ICOs?
Yeah, of course, right.
The ICO is the new IPO.
Correct. I think you wrote an article about that.
Oh, I've written a number of them because they're coming up fast and furious.
Right.
There's 2 instances that the ICO is being used. Let me hear. Tezos, a blockchain startup which has tapped virtually unlimited source of funding, has raised over 200 million in just 4 days.
Wow.
Guess what? Guess what the ICO does?
What?
You no longer need a stock market. You no longer need brokers. You no longer need Goldman Sachs and a desk to do IPOs. You can get your funding directly from crowdfunding or from running one of these ICOs. You remember the statement by Mark Cuban that he thinks Bitcoin is a bubble and not really viable?
Yeah.
Well, did you know that Mark Cuban has his own blockchain platform called Unicorn and has done a ICO of a Unicoin because his platform is going to be used for sports betting.
Oh, wow.
So what the blockchain is going to do is it's going to eliminate the need for banks.
Yep.
By the way, the state of Delaware just passed a law that where is it? Delaware passed a law which said that you can trade stocks on the blockchain. Well, guess what? Bye-bye New York Stock Exchange. This is going to eliminate Wall Street entirely.
Mm-hmm.
And the ICO, the cryptocurrency that is attributed, almost to me, cryptocurrencies should be like replacement of stocks and securities.
Yeah.
Because if you're running on the blockchain and you have the encryption and you have the decentralized control, guess what? Yeah, you can short that, but it's not going to be naked shorts.
Mm.
Because the creators of that blockchain platform are going to control the amount of currencies, different coins that are attributed to those different platforms. So it's going to go back to the old days of shorting. Remember the old days when you could borrow from somebody else's account, but you had to pay them interest on it?
Mm-hmm.
There was no such thing as naked shorting.
Correct.
And so the ICO and the different blockchain type, whether it's Ethereum blockchain or anybody can create a blockchain type platform that is unique to themselves.
Right.
So anyway, what are your thoughts on this?
No, man. I mean, it's we're so early in the stage in cryptocurrencies, and I think I kind of liken it to the automobile industry back when it was in its infancy stages. You had, I think it was 154 car manufacturers until the dust finally settled and we had the big three. Cryptos again are so damn early in the stage, and there's no historical precedent for this in the sense of a long-term store of value. No, I think it's a constantly evolving sector. I also feel very strongly that, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, the ICO is absolutely revolutionary. When I look at things like cryptos, I think one of the things that I really look forward to and is the technology behind it. One thing that gets me excited about is not a particular coin, but the blockchain technology in itself. The fact of ICOs, the things of platforms like Ethereum and smart contracts. That's what really redefining the entire landscape and changing the paradigm at a rapid clip. And those are the changes that are happening at an institutional and sovereign level. I think that's what people need to focus on. I think if people focus on a price of a particular coin, it's good to be in these things. It's good to hold them lightly. There's no long play right now in cryptos. I mean, it could be very well, and we've had guys like Tone Vays on who said that, and as well as Vin Armani who said that, Bitcoin could be the MySpace of cryptocurrencies, and the real.
I completely agree because here's the thing about Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people who they understand Bitcoin only because of the price.
Correct.
They really don't understand, and they have this assumption that the Bitcoin is the blockchain.
No. That's the problem, and that's the problem. Bitcoin is not the blockchain. It utilizes a blockchain ledger, but it's not a blockchain. And when SegWit 2 comes into play with the speeding up of the blockchain and transactions, right? When you look at the three main coins. Ethereum is great as a platform. I mean, there's so much, you can build financial structures on Ethereum. It's incredible. Then you look at Litecoin, and Litecoin, you have the Lite network, which is, it's the transactions are blazingly fast in comparison to Bitcoin. It doesn't suffer those latency issues that Bitcoin has. There are coins that are out there, like Litecoin, like Ethereum, and even like Veritas. Veritasium is being used for financial exchanges, which is incredible. that's where the promise of the technologies. I think you're right, man. I think too many people are hopped up, and they get fixated, or they get tunnel vision on a particular crypto, and you know, well and good. It can go very high in value, absolutely. But what is the long term play? Looking out into the horizon, no one could quite say. You know, and I think you know, there's a chance again that this is the we're witnessing. It's a new technology, it's a new field, and we are possibly witnessing the MySpace of the cryptocurrencies. You know,
I would tend to change it just a little bit.
yeah,
Bitcoin to the blockchain is the equivalent of bulletin boards.
Mm.
And then you had the creation of the browser, Netscape. Netscape changed everything, a GUI type browser. That's really, to me, what the Ethereum platform is.
correct.
The Ethereum platform makes the blockchain, you know, just bare bones. But the Ethereum adds on to it. And then, of course, from the Ethereum and from the blockchain now, you know, I heard you talking, I think it was with, I couldn't remember if it was Gus or the serious London Paul the other day about Blythe Masters.
Oh yeah, Blythe Masters, the great comic book villain.
Now, obviously, she was involved in trying to get J.P. Morgan, you know, a banking coin. But the fact of the matter is, her corporation, doing blockchain technology research in that, is still going on. And you have to wonder, because her name hasn't been up in her company, but how much has she been involved in the evolution of the blockchain in this sudden, instantaneous eruption of all these different new platforms?
Yeah.
Like Unicorn and that. The other thing is that China, you know, every single country is going to deal with cryptocurrencies differently.
Yeah.
This is what's not going to make it universal. This is what's not going to make it, what's one of the definitions of money? Fungible.
Fungible.
Accepted everywhere. Okay. Japan, because of the fact that they have destroyed their currency so much, they're more than willing to say, you know what, let's keep the people a little bit mollified. We'll allow Bitcoin in there, and that's going to do our internal commerce.
Yeah.
China, on the other hand, is looking much bigger. They're saying, what do we have to have on the Silk Road that's going to be electronic, digital, transferable, but it's going to be of value? Well, China's now hiring 6 new blockchain or Ethereum analysts or programmers to see about building a cryptocurrency for the RMB.
Yep, absolutely.
Then, of course, what is China's ultimate goal? The ultimate goal is that international trade is going to be gold backed.
Yeah, that is the ultimate goal. International trade will be gold back, and for everything else, you can have the blockchain technology. I mean, think about it. You're coming out with a cryptocurrency for the RMB. You know what that does, Ken? It revolutionizes, currency swap facilities.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Changes the game.
See, they built their CIPS system to deal with sovereign fiat currencies.
Yeah,
but you don't have to when you have a blockchain to do a digital. And you know, the thing about it is once they get the digital currency RMB out there and recognized and on the blockchain, they can then start to work to sort of eliminate the paper-based fiat RMB.
Yeah.
And they can, you know, they don't have to do a gold-backed fiat RMB. They can do the gold-backed digital RMB that's going to be fresh and without all of this debt obligations tied to it. So you're starting from scratch. It's the currency reset.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, man. Hey, with that
for individuals in commerce and banking, guess what we have? We have Zen Gold. This going up in Dubai. We're going to have
Sharia compliant
cryptocurrencies that are going to be allowed to be accessed just like over Gold Money with a credit card, debit card, and you can do all your banking through the blockchain. Screw the banks.
Correct, and that's like all Sharia compliant and whatnot. You know. With that being said, we have the mysterious, furious, who's also very fast. W, what's up, buddy?
Hey, guy, how's it going?
Good, man. What's shaking, man?
Well, I'm enjoying the conversation here, and I have been following this myself pretty closely. Obviously, it's a big story with the various cryptos coming out. I had a conversation the other day with one of my contacts that we hadn't talked in quite a while, and he was part of a funding operation that occurred for one of the cryptos 2 weeks ago. And one of the interesting things that came out in that conversation, he had a similar attitude. What he believes is going to happen down the road is that we're going to see a merger of a number of these cryptocurrencies. That's when somebody emerges as being the one. And although it's name recognition right now with Bitcoin, which works tremendously, whether it's politics or business or anything else, name recognition is the name of the game for the moment, because that's all people know is they tie cryptocurrency to Bitcoin in the broader population. It's a numbers game. And all the other ones are very few people really know anything about them or know anything about the differences. So at some point down the road, you'll get a fair number of companies that start to emerge as, just like with Litecoin, being light on their feet and able to do these transactions quickly, and the technology works. It'll be the same as you mentioned, the car manufacturers. Most of those car manufacturers didn't actually just roll up and go away. They got absorbed into other companies.
Correct.
And so you had hand-built coach builders that had great, upholstery or top technologies, and they got bought up by somebody else. That's the same thing as what's going on, for example, with Microsoft. Microsoft went out. They don't create anything. They buy a company that's doing it. They pay big bucks and they just absorb it in. So when there's something new shows up in their systems, because they bought a company that already had that down. Very little done from whole cloth at those types of companies. And that's what will happen here. So my guys were in the mode where they were bringing in very specific technologies, methodologies into their crypto offering, and with an eye to the future, that they're going to get bought up or absorbed into another crypto or group of cryptos, and in fact hope to be part of engineering the merger of multiple cryptos in the not too distant future. But by not too distant, he's seeing a horizon of 2 to 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So when you put it in that kind of a light, and then you think about, well, where should I be throwing myself in? You want something that's going to survive. It's just like with the online gaming. They may very well end up with a crypto of their very own that ends up being part of some larger crypto series that's something we haven't even seen yet. Go to the bank, use your bank card, and look on the side of the machine, and you'll see Discover, Visa, MasterCard, blah, blah, blah. But they're all, you can go right in there and use your bank card and pull out cash or do a transaction or whatever, and their system supports all of those. And that's what will be coming at some point in the cryptos, is that kind of a merger. But there's still a lot between here and there. The other thing that, let me just change gears slightly. Kim was talking about fungibility, what makes a currency a currency. Now, I haven't talked about it for quite a while, except a little bit behind the scenes with you. I've watched the coding going on in multiple markets. Something interesting happened, and of course, I've been saying that other than churning, everything would be flat for quite a while, and that last year it showed flat all year, but it did put a code in there that seemed to indicate, I'm reading somebody else's mail, so I have to kind of guess at what's being said here, that seemed to show a change this year. So I was very anxious. July 15th was when I expected to see coding come through again. The last time was back at the first of the year. The coding came through on July 5th and 6th, and I haven't seen what's going to happen yet today. But 2 days in a row, and it was in multiple markets. I counted 17 markets. I think there's more. I just haven't found the other two yet. There's about 30 that I watch. So I just ran out of time. But that's critical, because all of that coding is going to tell us what's going to happen the rest of the year, what they're planning internally and what's going on. That being said, let me just add this one other thing. I hadn't thought about it for a long time. Back when I was doing stuff in the late 80s, my mentor at the time that was very big in all of this, there was one occasion where we had three codes that came through sequentially, and it was that was a very big deal. It was a huge deal. It was when the Japanese market was coded through to do its collapse. And so I told people years in advance the day and the hour that the Japanese market was going to collapse. That was right, 4 or 5 years in advance. And it was because we knew when things were going to have run their cycle, when the paper instruments were dated for. That being said, the two codes that came through yesterday and the day before, those codes were identical. There was two of them. In a particular market that I'm very concerned about. And the reason that's critical is because when they did the big change back then, it was 3 codes. It was like pay extra close attention, the whole schmear. And what I was comparing it to, and what he compared it to at the time, he said, "Remember Dorothy with her slippers?
Yeah.
You know, they weren't ruby.
They
were only ruby in the movie. They were silver." And so he said, "Yeah, you got to click 3 times. That's the magic." And so when you see it 3 times, pay attention, because that is a totally different situation. Now, we've got 2 right now. I'm very concerned about this third one. And that could very well be something unhinged different, and could be a huge thing moving forward. These people that we're watching that are running these markets, that are even running the cryptos and involved in them, are very much into hidden arts, esoteric, occult type things. And so they, while most of the players are just going in, it's a business transaction, they're trying to time it out. It's like playing your sports bets and they're trying to make a buck. There is a certain component of people in there that are in there for other reasons. They look at this as part of their mechanism to take over the world. That being said, they want to do all the little magic acts and things in order to make the magic work. And so in the clicking the heels 3 times with the silver slippers, they can take you anywhere. If you go back and look at that, this crowd just loves that whole Wizard of Oz mentality. And by the way, the Wizard of Oz, what's Oz? That was the abbreviated term for ounces.
Mm-hmm.
So the Wizard of Ounces. Oh. And it was what? The streets were paved with gold. But what was magic? Magic silver. This silver that you could click 3 times, that's what could take you anywhere. In that turn of the century period, the big debate was, should the currency be silver and gold?
You're breaking up, man. You're breaking up.
Apologize, guys. I hope it doesn't go away on you there.
Okay, so
hey, real quick, W. Let me. Yeah, I've written on something like that before.
Yes, go ahead.
The Wizard, of course, represented McKinley, who was the gold standard guy, and of course, the Cowardly Lion was William Jennings Bryan, who was the silver guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And so the question is, are we actually, even with the crypto things going on right now, ultimately those players are going to want to go back to real currencies. And while gold is the obvious that the Chinese and everybody else want to go to, silver is still in the game, and silver is where the magic is. Silver is where the real money is going to get made during this gyration. And of course, the reason Jennings Bryan was so excited about silver, that was the flyover country farmers who would win if the currency was silver backed. It was the East Coast bankers and business people that would win if it was gold backed, was their opinion. And of course, what killed the Wicked Witch of the East that had the silver slippers on? It was Flyover Country's farmhouse that landed on her. So, you know.
Well, yeah, and real quick, W, if you remember too, the Depression or the Panic of 1873 was specifically because the U.S. government took us off silver standard.
Yes.
And if you go back to the time of the Spanish finding the New World and their rise in empire, from about 1492 to 1873 was the greatest prosperity boom the world had ever seen. And it was all based on silver. It was based on the Spanish doubloon, or the pieces of 8. It was the British who later built their pound based on pound sterling silver. The U.S. dollar was built on certain amount of grains of silver in the 1792 Currency Act. It was the RMB is on silver. Pretty much everything was based on silver. Why? Because there's enough of it that it allows for growth and inflation at a small relative rate.
Well, and so the reason that I mention all of that also is because look at what J.P. Morgan threw in the vaults, all these millions of ounces of silver. When in my conversation with the guys doing the crypto stuff here the other day, my recommendation to them was not to try to fight the fight on a gold-based, the fight on a silver-based crypto and get ahead of the game, because that's where I think there's more future, if you will. Part of the reason that Soros is controlling the Mexican government the way he is, which he is, and the gangs, is because they produce so much silver. That is going to come off the rails. That control is going to come off the rails. And when that happens, I think that silver is going to be available to be used out into the other currencies. I think that's part of the reason that he's so involved there, is because of this belief that getting control of what silver's mined there could be useful out into the future. But I'm still a silver guy. I think the silver is if you're looking for the leverage out into the future, that's the one where you're gonna. Otherwise, you're fighting the central banks and other things. All eyes are on gold. Hey, the streets were paved with gold. It was the silver slippers that took you anywhere.
Yeah, and that's the thing about gold is the money of international transactions, trade, banking. But silver is truly the money of commerce. And that's why the farmers in the populist movement rose, is because they wanted silver, because that was commerce. They could care less what was done at the sovereign level between nations.
Well, and I have a friend that was on the city council down at Tombstone, Arizona. And so he took me out and showed me some of the silver mines there at the turn of the century. Silver was going absolutely crazy. The mining going on in that part of the world was off the charts. We have silver all over the place available to us. We're just not going after it specifically right now. It's just incidental. But at some point, and then the other question is there new technologies that will require greater silver for the application of those technologies moving forward? I think that's absolutely accurate. And so I think that we may get a surprise in here based on some of the other conversations I've had, where silver becomes suddenly very needed industrially in order to take us to this next technological level that is what this next 100 years is about.
I agree, because was it one of the guy who has the largest silver company, Keith Neumeyer?
Mm-hmm.
He said that Apple is coming directly to him, getting the silver directly from the miner. They're bypassing the markets.
Let's look at it this way. If AI and all of the things related with it, and the various types of manufacturing that are going to be done, eliminating or changing the utility of human workforce, and you're going to a artificial workforce, just the straight industrial growth would require a tremendous amount of silver, because you need that for electronic connections, etc. You can use gold, you can use other materials, but they're just too expensive. Silver makes way more sense and actually works better in most of those applications. But then add to that for certain energy systems needing a fairly substantial amount of silver in order to get the correct effect. Well, on a dime, the demand for the silver goes to outer space. Now, we have a lot of silver that we know where it's at. We know it's in large quantities. You just have to clear the path from the environmentally to go after it, to decide you want to do it. But there's plenty of silver there. We just have to decide that we want it. When that happens, there'll be a delay even as these technologies come online. And so the silver that's in hand, already in existence, will spike in value besides the demand, while we're waiting for supplies to start to scale up, is the way I would read that.
Oh, I agree. And, that's interesting because both gold and silver, when we were taken off the standard, per se, and though we officially weren't taken off the standard, we just closed the window. Silver is going to, I think, in the future, going to end up being what it is now. It's commodity. Gold, gold may go back to a monetary metal to back international trade as some sort of standard to protect the world against this future of purely fiat currencies. And what's the global debt now? 325% of the world's annual GDP.
It's wonderful.
And that's just beyond us unsustainable. And that's the thing about a gold standard of some sort, is it's a check and balance against central banks and sovereign governments from destroying their currency.
Well, and let me just do this. I'm gonna just cut to the chase. Nobody's heard this anywhere else. I'm gonna say it for your rogue listeners, V.
Yeah.
At the core of what's the key in this new technology, we talk about is there breakaway civilizations, or space-based civilization, everything else, in connections being used off planet. The problem is when you have tin in the wiring and other materials, that deteriorates in a very specific way. It migrates in low gravity environments, and there's also various types of radiation affected. Silver doesn't appear to be affected in the same way. It can take long-term time and space. We do it with gold also, but it's so expensive. So if we're actually looking at moving further off to the low Earth orbit and to do other stuff, especially from an industrialization standpoint, silver is going to become critical. The other thing is the energy systems that you do for getting away from the systems that we have, carbon-based systems, burning fossil fuel type mentality stuff. These other systems require a certain type of connectivity. And so over the next 50 years, we're going to see these things come hard and heavy, and it won't be 50 years at the end. It's front loaded because the silver doesn't exist in quantities to be able to support this right now. There's going to be a window where we're going to see a tremendous spike in value due to demand, just anticipating what's coming while we're waiting for the mining to come back online, because the mining is shut down.
Right,
we're not mining silver.
No.
And but that demand, even in a world in economic crisis, that knowledge that's coming is going to affect the prices. So, if you're looking at all the places you could be, I'm not saying buy silver for pure speculation and bet the farm on it and everything else. What I'm saying is you need to have that as a component. And if you're looking at from a metal standpoint, it has a long history being very competitive with gold, and more fungible, more easily traded. And then again, my opinion, just get the silver coinage. It has no collector value. That's just no numismatic value. It's just based on the weight of the silver, because it's already recognized U.S. tender. It's easily recognized if you want to do trades with other people, and it's not a gold coin where they're going to beat your head in to get it from you. You can say you found it in your sock drawer, and nobody knows that you got 500 of them sitting back at home. you stay under the radar. So I just think with the dramas that are ahead, and there are dramas ahead, especially this fall, with the debt issue. And administrations, they want to get the pain out of the way early in the administration, so that come election time, 4 years later, they're positioned with the economy coming back to be able to do something. So if Trump's people are advising him, as classically is done, while it's Make America Great, they want to start a fight with the Koreans, get Putin under control, get the Mideast thing started and over with, so that 3 years into his administration, everything's starting to heal and come together. And if you got a banking issue and a financial structure issue for the country, you need to address that early and hard. So the pain is going to be front loaded. It's right now in this fall that they've got to get all these things going, and then be able to start working out, sorting them out. This fall is going to be a son of a gun. The honeymoon will be over shortly.
Interesting. Wow. Ken, what do you got to say, buddy?
Oh, what else is going on?
Lots. Take your pick.
by the way, I mentioned Zen Gold earlier and its potential as gold-backed cryptocurrency. One of the things that is going to be the big issue that people are going to ask is, how can we trust these companies? Most of them don't have a prospectus when they create these ICOs or do these different things. Well, Zen Gold just came out a few days ago, and they said that all the gold that's going to be backed in their cryptocurrencies is going to be stored at the Shanghai Gold Exchange.
Boom.
Audited, monitored, validated. So this is going to be something else, is if these cryptocurrencies find a means, because Dubai is already tied into Shanghai Gold Exchange with their futures contract.
Yeah, and then you got 1 gram, which is coming up hard and strong, which is a Sharia compliant cryptocurrency that is backed by gold.
Exactly. So we no longer have to wait for the quote unquote Bretton Woods. Third-party entities, decentralized entities, and even some sovereigns are already in the process of bringing about a return to gold-backed money of a sort.
Yeah.
And with the rise of the digital cryptocurrencies, my God, just think of how quickly this has really spawned. I mean, people like to say that the Bitcoin phenomena has really only been since 2013. Not really. After Mt. Gox, people forgot about Bitcoin for the next 2 years. But the blockchain, the Ethereum, the rise of these different platforms, the rise of the ICOs, 2017 is by far going to be the year of the blockchain. Even if you take a look at it from a more purely investment side, Ethereum and Bitcoin are the 2 best performing assets of the first half of this year by far. And they are, one is antiquated, one is more efficient, but they're just the grandfathers of what's coming out and what's going to come out probably over the next 5 years.
Right.
So, I write a lot about the pluses and minuses, the pros and cons of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, but primarily I am 100% behind the blockchain. I'm behind the creation of the ICO, ending the IPO, getting rid of Wall Street, this new a law in Delaware where you can trade using the blockchain. It's going to get rid of brokers. It's going to get rid of the exchanges. It's going to get rid of the banks. It's going to get rid of all this thing. And I think this is why you're seeing them fight tooth and nail, because in reality, the COMEX, tearing down the price of gold and silver, it's not a physical market anyway. It's a paper derivatives market. So if there's an implosion of the COMEX, what are they going to lose?
And that's a fantastic point, Ken. That's you actually have to slow down and let people think about that again. The real market that's being traded right now is not a physical market. It's all paper dots and tittles on a computer screen anyway.
Yeah.
And so in its own way, we're already kind of in that digital world. The difference is with the blockchain, the mischief, the sleight of hand, it is much, much more difficult, if almost impossible, to do it because those transactions are part of the record. And that makes it harder to play fast and loose. And so those groups that embrace the blockchain early will get the strength of confidence over time that is what's lacking in financial world, paper world right now. Does that make sense? Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, absolutely. And for people who are thinking, take a look at this. What is it that Warren Buffett is more than anything that made his thing? He's a value investor.
Right.
What is it that Rothschild said? When there's blood in the streets and people despise a given security or asset, that's when you go in and buy.
Exactly.
Well, what is everybody jumping into? Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Yeah.
What is everybody getting out of and destroying the reputation of?
Gold
and silver. So which is the most undervalued asset you can imagine?
It's gold and silver.
Bingo.
Especially silver, the most undervalued asset in the world. So
think about this. Because of the slam down, the flash crash last night, the gold silver ratio is over 78.
It's crazy, man.
78 to 1.
What's silver trading for now? Do you know?
Silver is trading at this moment at 1557. Last night after the flash crash, it was into the 14 handle.
Oh my God! I wish I had backed up my car at that time.
But think about this, because of the fact that for now the paper market dominates the price in the West.
Yeah.
Every single coin dealer, online shop, they have to sell at spot price depending upon what premium they put on. So you are still able to get the benefits of this slam down to accumulate at some of the lowest prices in history tied to inflation for these metals.
Well, and the key thing here is that we see, if you just look at the broader politics around the world, the broader economics around the world, those people that get ahead of what's coming, their kids and grandkids will sing the laurels of what geniuses they were to have anticipated what's coming. One of the things that I told my guys forever when I was training, you got to learn how to anticipate. You got to look at what the options are that are coming up and then try to decide which ones make the most sense, moving forward. That's not being a prophet or a seer. That's just being intelligent and using your brain. So what's ahead? You got political chaos ahead. You got financial chaos ahead. You have war situation ahead. And all of those create uncertainties, and the market's going to want to go to something tangible. The people will want things that are tangible, not paper promises. And I think there's a window here. There'll be a time to dive back into all of the speculative stuff, but tangibles is going to be where it's at for a period of time. And I think that the silver makes radically more sense on lots of grounds than the gold does.
Yeah. One interesting thing in history that most people don't realize is that after the French Revolution and Robespierre and his crew took over, what was the first thing they did? They had to deal with the international debt, so they decided to print money, creating, of course, hyperinflation. And what did that lead to? That led to Napoleon, a dictator, a tyrant, and an emperor. And what did Napoleon do? He went back on the gold standard and stabilized the economy. And that's why for the first 5 or 6 years of his reign, the French thought he was the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Right. Exactly.
And the ones who were leading the revolution ended up at the guillotine.
Yeah.
W, closing thoughts, sir. We got about 5 minutes left, and then Ken, I'll give you your closing thoughts.
Well, I think we've
could you also
covered it.
On the Korean Peninsula situation? Like, what's the latest on that, man?
Well, remember, as far as I'm concerned, although there's real drama going to happen there, some of that smoke and mirrors. The Chinese and the Russians have been using the Korean Peninsula as a counterpoint to everything we do in the Mideast for a long time. And every time we started to get a little bit focused, something would happen on the Korean Peninsula, and it spread our diplomatic and military forces and kept us from committing like we might otherwise have. What Trump is doing is he's getting ahead of that game, and he's pushing first and making a big stink first so that it can't be pulled on his blind side. And then if he wants to pick where he's going to do something, he'll pick whether it's Korea or the Mideast that he takes his next move at. And so this is gamesmanship. And part of the problem, too, is that to actually do something on the Korean Peninsula, there is, Mattis has said this, other people said, there is no way to safely actually get into a for real shooting war with North Korea that doesn't take out South Korea and parts of Japan. And so there's going to be real gamesmanship, brinksmanship even, that is going to be in play. But ultimately, the real drama is dealing with Hezbollah. The people that control Trump, that have his purse strings and his situation under their control, are highly focused on getting us to do the work that Israel is not militarily capable of in reining in Hezbollah in Syria, and that cannot wait.
That's not going to work for. That's not going to work for us either, man.
Again,
these guys are.
I didn't say we were going to win it. I said that they are intent that we go in there and do that battle. We'll kick ass, but we
will have our asses kicked. Going to be I promise you that.
Everybody's going to get their asses kicked. The problem is that it's going. It's one of those situations where the longer you wait, the worse it gets, and so they're going to get in there and try to begin managing that situation,
like they've managed, Kabul.
Well, but again,
managed the Ukraine.
Well, again, the military-industrial political complex.
It's a marketing arm. That's the whole thing.
Makes money because we're in there, and they need this. This is the next Vietnam.
They've been making a lot of sales with their F-35s and their THAADs that can't really much do anything.
Well, I have a little bit different opinion. The THAADs I'm not too thrilled with. The F-35
is a junk. It's junk. Unless they redesign that airframe, it's junk.
I have a little bit different opinion. It's a delivery platform. It's what goes on it that makes more difference, and it goes in a larger strategy. Unless it's part of a larger strategy, it's by itself. It's paperweight. But
so that's the new marketing gimmick that they're putting out there. That you got to buy this whole larger strategy. It's kind of like the aircraft carriers, a larger strategy, but it's an obsolete piece of war equipment.
Well, it's more of a sleight of hand. There's other technologies that. While you're watching that, the other stuff is actually doing the heavy lifting. It's more expendable, and of course, this is about making money.
Right. That's at the end of the day. That's what the whole military-industrial complex is. It's a giant waste-spending money thing for a bunch of.
Okay, and so that's my point, V. You got to hear what I'm saying. This is about these guys getting in and making their pound of flesh right now. But whether it's Korea or the Mideast,
but
that's
here's
been
the
the
thing.
case since we got started.
These guys are strikeout artists in the process, man. It's not like these guys are strikeout artists. It's not like when you were, doing your thing before you retired. We don't have those caliber of guys anymore.
Well, but again, war is a racket. So they're doing their racket that they've been at all along. And this, and I'm not saying that this is intelligent or wise, advisable, correct. I don't even think Trump believes that. What he's doing is he is appeasing that group of people who have an agenda, and it's based on, getting another conflict going there in the Mideast, or maintaining the conflict, for a very long time at the threshold, not being nuclear war, but as close to it as you can get, because that's how they maintain their power and their monetary control. And of course, even going back to all the currencies and the markets, part of the other thing is, and why they need this little conflict here in just a couple of months, is because the financial chaos going on, they need a solid distraction
while that shuffling is happening here in the fall. This is like a perfect storm of a bunch of things coming all at the same time. It's not the end of the world.
No, definitely.
It's part of the flashbang of the Magic Act.
So let me ask you this.
And so we are weeks from that.
So these guys actually are wanting to go into Lebanon, southern Lebanon, to smoke out Hezbollah.
Well, they don't want to go in there. They want us to go do the dirty work. We've been hesitant to go in and
So they want U.S. soldiers, ground troops, to go hunt Hezbollah in Lebanon.
Well, they want our technology and our strength, our depth to do it. You have to have a false flag that makes it look like this has to be dealt with for the whole world, and then you have to have us come in and commit.
They've been doing a wonderful job with false flags as of late.
Well, they'll have to have a false flag. It's probably going to. And remember, Hezbollah isn't just there in the Mideast. They're the strongest all over the world. You could have multiple events other places in the world that then lead us to go back there and deal with it on their home turf. And who's behind Hezbollah? It's Iran.
It's Iran.
So you've created a boogeyman, and now you got to go after the boogeyman. You've created the best enemy money can buy, and now what are you going to do? You're going to go whip them. So this is about a power play, military-industrial complex. It's about making money, and it's about the politics too, because who becomes empowered during this time period? Who looks like a genius and looks like an idiot?
And again, it's like at the end of the day, this is the dying death rattles of a bunch of obsolete bygone guys who don't realize that the game is up.
Or this is the game changer that continues the game into the next gyration.
I don't know, man. I think the fat lady's about to sing. I think it's about.
Well,
I'm gonna be amused by this whole Hezbollah thing because again, knowing someone.
Well, I don't know if I'd say amused. This is going to cost a lot of people.
That's what I'm saying. It's going to and again, American troops and American resources and American talent are going to be the cannon fodder for this. The American.
Well, remember, and this is why Putin, he doesn't want to be involved in this either, but he's going to be forced to.
He knows better.
And at the end of the day, what he's going to do is he's going to try to strategically influence the outcome without actually getting his guys
killed,
cleaned up at the same time. And so, this is rope-a-dope.
It is, and you know what Putin's going to do? If Putin's going to be like, if these Western stunads want to go into Lebanon, the headquarters of Hezbollah, let them.
Well, that's exactly the point. And the question is how much can Trump resist that? Trump's not going to be able to resist it because the players that are pulling the strings are kind of forcing his hand to engage here because they have local strategic objectives and they want to use us to do it. Yeah. Unfortunately, the American people are probably going to get sucked into it, and it's not going to be a healthy thing. It's not a good thing, and I don't know how we can avoid it at this point in time because I don't think there's enough understanding or anticipation within the broad public to hold it at bay like what happened with Obama. Because remember, Obama tried to get us committed in there 5 or 6 different times, hugely, and the American people and our military people were able to push back against the intelligence people, operatives, and the other governments that wanted us to go in there to be the stupid idiots that went in there and did all the heavy lifting. But that's about to come to a head.
If Trump goes in there, that'll be political disaster for him. Because that would.
I don't know that it will. I disagree with you, V. Those people that control how people look at this, that influence the conversation, will be very protective of Trump because they need him viable to see this through all the way. They need him viable through his presidency. So
okay. So let's play that to the fullest extent, right? They need him viable through his presidency. He goes in on a whole operation to go after Hezbollah in Lebanon. What's going to be the excuse they give when they see the body bags?
Well, you keep saying Lebanon, although Hezbollah in Lebanon's one thing. It's Hezbollah in Syria that they're probably going to go after. They're not going to go after
Good luck with that. Good luck with that.
Remember, it's all about perception.
No,
reality is how you perceive reality to be.
Okay.
And so what we do may very well be it may not be anywhere close to an actual death shot at Hezbollah. It's just a matter of managing the situation, and we strategically go in and pick a couple of spots and try to look as good as possible. And this is a long war, okay? So the long and short of it is we may very well go in and look good in a couple of spots here or there and then stop. But we're going to have a little bit of a shoot 'em up here in a couple of months, and that's the reset. That is the setup for World War III. And World War III, nobody comes out of that clean. Does it make sense? No. Are we going to do it? Yes. So the question is, it's not about, trying to throw logic at this. This hasn't got to do with logic. This is globalists doing the setup for their new world order. And we're going to be the cannon fodder in that process.
Okay. Well, again, these guys are again pushing for this global conflict that they've been, circle jerking each other for decades. But again, the problem is reality. The problem is their unipolar world is over. It's a multipolar world that's on stage. The problem again is they're not managing anything, man. On a real
see, that's where we probably disagree.
Right.
The impression that they're toast is a little bit premature. They've got a lot of depth, a lot of places to pull that have not even been tried yet. That are this is a long-term operation that is going to take some time to play through. They ultimately will lose, but that process of losing, that decade while that happens or two, is going to be the most lethal on the planet's history.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, man. How are they going to spin it when American body bags quadruple at massive rates week after week?
Because now that you're in, blood.
What's the excuse then?
They will say we got to double, triple, quadruple down to pay back for the blood that we've lost.
What forces can we project in the air? And if it goes to a wider shooting war, we're in their backyards. And if the Russians get involved, you can kiss the entire Mediterranean fleet goodbye.
Yes, and again, we'll win from a
marketing perspective. I agree with you.
No, we'll win from a marketing
perspective.
We'll kick their ass.
But
with
what?
At the end of the day,
with F-35s? With F-30?
No, V, you got to listen to me. I'm just telling you, don't get sucked into it. We will kick their ass. It will be horrible. We'll win, but we will not be America anymore because we will not be viable as a country after the fact. This is about plowing ground. Just because you may win the battle doesn't mean that even the war doesn't mean that you come out of it in one piece.
Who thinks we're going to win?
But you gotta understand. I'm just saying from a military standpoint, we'll kick their ass, but it won't be without us getting our asses whooped hard. And it doesn't mean that the country after this is the same America you went to sleep the night before.
I agree with you in that sense, but in terms of us,
and you're trying to put it within the logic of us as a people winning against somebody else as a people. This is globalists owning both sides of the conversation, wanting both sides decapitated so they can fill the vacuum. So you cannot think of it in the terms that you're trying to think of it. This isn't World War II. This isn't World War I. This isn't us taking dominance in the world and preserving our dominance for the world. This is about other players using both sides against each other to take each other down to a level that allows these globalists to step into the power vacuum, the political vacuum, in order to reset the world in their new image that they have in mind.
Well, let's see what happens, man. I think these guys fail miserably on this. They've been managing very, very poorly. That's my opinion and from the sources I can gather. Ken, what's your take, sir? Your closing comments.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to talk about it or too much, but the G20.
That's right, the G20 meeting. Trump and Putin shook hands, and liberal leftist.
Take that away. The most important thing that's happening in the G20 is Merkel. It was already said in the most recent weeks that Europe is now going to move away from the United States. And as I mentioned before, and you agreed with, Germany runs the EU. That's why in the long run they could care less about Britain leaving, the Union. But the fact of the matter is, this has been the isolation of the U.S. now is going into full throttle. Many people don't know, but back on June 13th, the ECB swapped out 500 million euros worth of dollar reserves and replaced them with Chinese RMB. So even the ECB is no longer relying upon the dollar and the dollar swaps that saved them back in 2010. They are focusing now on China. And then, of course, we have Qatar. Qatar really is all about the reason that they're going after Qatar, Saudi Arabia, is because the Emirate of Qatar has increased trade, and they are looking to bring the Chinese RMB into their full economy and monetary system. So Saudi Arabia realizes that if Qatar goes, then the entire petrodollar is gone. Iran's gone. Iraq's going to go away. You know, who are they left with? They've taken Yemen and pretty much made them enemies. It's going to be the end of Saudi Arabia. It's going to be the end of the petrodollar. And this is one of the reasons why, for so many reasons that aren't being talked about, is going to be one of the most important in decades.
I agree.
Well, and by the way, Ken, why did we go into Iraq the first and second time? It was because of the attack on the dollar that Saddam was proposing by going to a basket of currencies, and that had to be countered in order to preserve the petrodollar. So in its own way, this is just a continuation, the latest version of that very same battle going on all along. And by the way, just as an aside for your thoughts too, Ken, out in the future. So just as important as the petrodollar was backing the dollar with oil, I would stipulate that because the future energy systems rely on silver, because it's the one metal, both price-wise and availability-wise, that can be used with the new technologies on energy from other ways other than oil and coal and natural gas, that basing the new currencies on silver is the equivalent of what had been happening with basing the currencies on oil, something that does things as you use it and is consumed in the process of making things. So if you think of the new currencies needing to be backed by the thing that makes energy, and if it was oil, what's the next one? And I'm telling you, it's silver. So just food for thought.
You hit on a great thing, and that we can talk about this in the next show or down the road.
Definitely.
But the technocrats and Brzezinski, when they created the petrodollar agreement, they wanted to originally create a system where it's based on energy, on oil. This is why this huge, massive move, as the petrodollar was starting to decline, we had this move towards carbon credits. That's like the penultimate of the technocrats to have energy based on money to be based on energy consumption. Well, if we go to a silver system and it's going to be based on technology, which, if you think about it, isn't that what Bitcoin is based on? Use of work, electronic work. So if we're going to have currency based on technology versus in the past based on energy, damn right, you suddenly replace the currency from oil to silver, which is going to be the most important metal or commodity.
Well, and let me just say, and it's actually both. It's not because the new energy systems rely on silver, and the technology relies on silver. So it's like a double hit. It's like both worlds together, as opposed to oil just being the productive capacity.
Great thing to research going forward.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, I want to thank you guys both for coming on. It's always a pleasure. The insights have been absolutely terrific and enlightening. With that being said, folks, thank you all for listening in. And we'll be back again on Monday for the morning show and our regularly scheduled programs, and next week as well for the radio show as well. Thank you all for listening in. Again, check out Ken's YouTube channel, The Daily Economist. Subscribe to over there, as well as thedailyeconomist.com. And he also writes for roguemoney.net. And W, the elusive man, will probably get back into his Cold War era submarine and disappear into the nether regions of the underworld. With that being said, thank you all for listening in. Have a great day. Take it away, CJ.